51, he was 55. He died of a blood clot, which sent my whole world into a complete whirlwind. I didn't know which way to turn. And I very quickly realized that grief is not linear. We cannot go, okay, what's next? What's next? What we do as women, as I said, we don't acknowledge ourselves in this whole equation. It becomes all about them. I need to help them. We go into hero mode. And as women, we don't want to burden our family with our feelings.
Sober on Purpose is the podcast that takes you beyond clean to fulfilling your dreams. Other programs get you sober. We ask, what's next? Come thrive with us.
Welcome, Sober on Purpose family. I have a beautiful guest with me here today, Denise Dielwart. She is a grief trauma specialist. We're going to talk about grief in general, but we're also going to talk about ambiguous grief. And I will let Denise really define that. So welcome, Denise. Thank you for being here and share with us a little bit more about your story.
Wow, thank you so much for having me here today and talking about such an important subject of grief and, of course, ambiguous grief. My story begins really in 2009 when I lost my husband. That's when my grief journey and my grief story began. But before that, Martin and I got married really young. I was only 16 when we met, got married at 18, grew up together, had kids together. And at 51, I was 51, he was 55. He died of a blood clot, which sent my whole world into a complete whirlwind. I didn't know which way to turn. I had never experienced, I lost my parents, and that was a totally different grief to the loss of a spouse, the loss of a husband.
And you use a really great analogy for grief and working with grief. Can you tell us how grief is like learning to drive a car?
Absolutely. You know, we go onto autopilot in our life. We really do. And if you look back to the days when you were so excited, you were finally at the age, wow, I can learn to drive a car now. Wow, I'm going to learn to drive a car. So you get into the car and you sit in the car and you sit in the driver's side. Now you've got the steering wheel in front of you. You've got all the pedals down below. You've got mirrors you've got to look at. You have to learn how to drive that car. It's not on autopilot. So you learn. You bunny hops when you pull off. You've now got to look. You've now got to look into your mirror and change the gears, shift, and then you've got the indicators, and it's all over the place, and you get totally overwhelmed. And then you just go into. After you know how to drive, you get into the car, you just know how to drive now. You just get in because it's now become a subconscious. Now becomes subconscious. So you get in, you just hop in. You don't even think about, which gear do I put in? Oh, I've got to look in the mirror anymore because you've learned that. It's a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
So with grief, when we start navigating grief, we don't know what to do. We have no idea what to do. And we go into la la land. We go into la la land. That's what all I can call it is la la land. And we just go through the motions and we just survive. But we really have to be aware of what we are feeling.
So instead of driving the car, we're kind of sitting in it with the keys in our hand, right?
Yeah. I know, and it's the fear of driving that car. It's the fear of what happens if I crash? You know, all the what ifs. What happens? I've got the keys in my hand, and I know I have to learn what to do, and I have to get through this. And I'm really excited. But not, with the driving a car. But in the case of grief, you're not excited because you don't know what's on the other side. And it's the same as driving.
Yeah, we don't really know when driving a car either. We don't really know what's on the other side when we get started.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. We don't know. We just don't know. We don't know if we're going to crash. We don't know if somebody's going to crash into us. We just don't know. And and grief is exactly the same. And grief has many, many, many faces. It's not just the loss of a loved one.
Yes. And the other thing we've been taught in school the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross grieving process, which has stages, and you don't adhere to that. Tell us a little bit more about your thought process behind that.
Well, when I lost my husband, I went what I call the traditional route. And I went and saw a therapist. I had a psychologist, and she told me to go through the 5 stages of grief and to wait for time. And I very quickly realized that grief is not linear. We cannot go, okay, what's next? What's next? Logically, we want a map. We want somebody to tell us, okay, what do I do next? Okay, I've done that now. I've got the anger part, and I've done all that. Then I started doing a lot of research into the 5 stages of grief and into Kubler-Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that she wrote those 5 stages of grief for people that were diagnosed with a terminal illness,
Mm-hmm.
not for somebody that's actually lost a loved one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, they make perfect sense, because now you're angry. What are you going to do? And eventually you come through and you accept it.
Right.
But in the case of grief in general, even ambiguous grief, there are no stages. It's just this underlying feeling of loss.
Mm-hmm.
So to try and navigate 5 stages of grief actually keeps people stuck. Keeps them stuck because they have to get to the next stage.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished that stage, but I'm already here. Or they feel guilty. I didn't get angry.
Yeah.
So, and that's where that whole rabbit hole, going down the rabbit hole treadmill goes with grief. It's like, I've got to go through the 5 stages of grief, and that's going to take time. And then you've got people saying, oh, it's okay, time heals all, you'll be okay, just wait for time, don't do anything the first year. These are all myths around grief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hear it all the time from my clients. Why is the second year worse than the first year, Denise?
Ooh, why is the second year worse than the first year?
Because they did nothing in the first year to heal their grief. They waited for time. They tried to navigate the 5 stages of grief. They shared their story with everybody. They joined all the grief groups that they possibly could to tell everybody and hear other people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
So come the second year, it's like, oh, I'm in my second year already. Now what? Oh, I feel worse than I did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another myth. Everybody says, oh, the second year is worse. Yes, it is. Absolutely. If you choose to do nothing about the first year.
So your thought process is to start doing what the first year? What would we start doing the first year?
Start working on yourself. Start rediscovering who you are. It's so important that we acknowledge ourselves. Now, especially as women, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else in our life is important except us.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. So this is a really interesting statement. I was doing something, and my husband was doing something, and it was kind of time bound, and he needed to stop and use the restroom, right? What does he do? He stops and uses the restroom. I'm feeling the same thing, but because it's time bound, because people are dependent on me, I don't stop. I say, wait, I'll just manage my body, and I'll just deal with it. So you're absolutely right. Everybody matters but me, even in the real basics. How many of us have not stopped to eat, not stopped to sleep, use the restroom, do, brush our teeth, do self-care when there's time urgency for somebody else?
Yeah, absolutely. Even the dog. The dog gets more preference than we do. The dog or the cat.
Yes, absolutely.
We could be absolutely starving, but no, it's time to feed the dog. Feed the dog first, then I'll eat.
Yes. So on that first year, when you need to start looking at yourself, what do you do?
So the first thing is to actually make a decision. Am I important?
Mm.
Am I important? In the case of a mother that's got a family that's falling apart because of grief,
Mm-hmm.
um, she's the glue, and whether we like it or not, us as women, we are the glue to the family. Everybody comes to us. We are the glue. So if we fall apart, guess what? Our family falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to stop and to start feeling your feelings, to start giving yourself permission to feel that pain, feel that loss,
Mm-hmm.
and then giving yourself the time to feel that. So when I say the time, not 6 months, oh, well, I'm feeling this at 6 months. It's sitting down and going, this is my 5 minutes. This is when I'm going to feel my pain. This is when I'm going to scream. This is when I'm going to lock myself in the closet, which I did. I screamed at my steering wheel when I was
Yes.
driving on my own to release that pain, to release that it's an overwhelming feeling that you cannot explain. Grief is something you can't say to somebody, well, I'm feeling this way, because there's so many layers to it.
Yes. Yes.
It's not
So
just
you said to keep the family from falling apart, I need to feel my feelings. Oftentimes I feel like when I'm feeling my feelings, I'm actually tearing the family apart. But you're saying just the opposite, to
yeah.
take the time to feel the feelings.
You've got to take the time. Let it implode around you. Let the family implode around you. Let them do whatever. Take yourself out, because you are the number one person here that's going to eventually come out and go, you know what? This is my family. This is where we hold each other together.
Mm-hmm.
If we do not fill our cup, we cannot help anybody else. And I always say, don't just fill your cup, overfill your cup, so that you are giving to your family from the overflow. So your cup is always full.
Yes. 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 Yes.
We've heard that
And when
analogy. So often. You can't give from an empty cup. Well, you're not giving. You're giving from the overflow.
when when you're talking about this, so this is grief, and we kind of set this up about the loss of your husband. What about ambiguous grief? When the person is still alive,
Yeah.
but the relationship that you've dreamed of, wanted, is not there.
And that is so common. It really is. And we don't recognize it. Society doesn't recognize it.
Mhm.
Ambiguous grief comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes. It can come in like, as you know, in addiction. It can come in husband has an affair. It can come in husband gets diagnosed with a terminal illness and you become the carer. That's all ambiguous grief.
Mhm.
What we do as women, as I said, we don't acknowledge ourselves in this whole equation. It becomes all about them.
Mhm.
I need to help them. They've got a drinking problem. How can I help? How can I help him with his problem? The hardest thing is to stand back and go, no, you help yourself. I matter. I matter. And that's not easy to do, is it?
No, not at all. What would you say to women who are beginning to take that journey? Beginning to say, okay, I can't live their life for them. I am sad that we're not doing the things I thought we would do in this marriage or in this relationship. How would you help them take care of themselves?
The first thing is for them to be 100% honest with themselves. 100% honest. No keeping yourself busy, no masking it. What am I feeling right now? What am I feeling?
Mhm.
And acknowledging that pain, acknowledging it, because it's pain.
Mhm.
It is pain, and it's betrayal. Very often, it's betrayal. It's not just the pain; it's the betrayal.
Mhm.
You promised me that we were going to have this amazing life together, and you've gone off with somebody else. You're gambling, you're drinking, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what it is. It's that the outcome is still the same. Even though that person's still alive, you are grieving the loss of the life you thought you were going to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the first step is to feel. In my flow program, it's feel that pain. What am I actually feeling? And if it is anger, go beneath that and say, okay, I'm feeling really angry. But is it anger or is it frustration? What is it? What is that emotion? Because beneath that anger is a whole lot of other emotions.
Mm-hmm. That's scary, Denise. Really scary. What do you
Yeah.
do for your women when they're like, whoo, that's scary. Not sure I can do that.
It's like an onion. I always say, okay, we're peeling the onion. There's another layer, but wait, there's more. Because we can feel a top emotion, and this is where the results I get is within like the first weeks of working with ladies. They have aha moments because we're releasing those layers, we're unpeeling. Um, it's really knowing that you're going to be okay, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
release. You cannot release that layer until you've actually admitted, felt it. We have to feel it. And
Mm-hmm.
very often, when we feel that pain, I had a beautiful lady that was in her close to her 70s, and her husband passed away. And when he passed away, she discovered that he had an affair. But not only that, he spent all the money they had together.
Oh.
She left all the finances. Now, this was a very intelligent lady. She was a school teacher. She was a
Mm-hmm.
principal. So she wasn't, oh well, I don't know what anything about finances, but she trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
She trusted
Mm-hmm.
him. She was only 3 months into her journey when she said to me, Denise, I need your help. I need to release this anger and this
Mm-hmm.
frustration. I need to grieve for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the anger and the frustration does is that it blocks off our emotions, shuts us down. And we can't feel, we don't know what we're feeling. So it's really something to reach out and get help for, but the right kind of help.
Talk me through. So it's some of my women, there's a trauma circumstance. Like you said, they find out the money is gone. The betrayal has happened. The police have shown up and taken their partner away, or their partner has gone away. There is some crisis point. And instead of grieving, they carry on. They keep
Yep,
doing or overdo. How do you help women with that? Okay, now I'm just going to be hero person.
yep. I was one of those, put my hand up. I was one of those when my husband passed away, suddenly at 51, I was 51, he was 55. So we were at the beginning of our life together without the kids, without the drama, without everything. I
Right?
just soldiered on. I just soldiered on. In my
Mhm.
previous life, I was a bookkeeper,
Mhm.
tax agent. That's what I did. I didn't do what I'm doing now. And I just carried on. I don't know how I did it, but I still reconciled bank accounts. I balanced things because we go into, like we're talking about the car analogy, we go into autopilot.
Mhm. Mhm.
We go into hero mode. And as
Mhm.
women, we don't want to burden our family with our feelings because they're feeling it as well, especially our kids. Our kids are feeling it. The husbands, being taken away by the police. A lot of that is shame. There's a lot of shame involved with that.
Yes. Yes.
But it's courageous to feel that shame. It's okay. It's not your shame. It's his shame. It's not your children's shame. It's his shame.
Mhm. Mhm.
You didn't create and do the things he did.
Mhm.
He chose to do that. So it's really important to again come back to self and go, that's not my shame. I don't own it. It's his
Mhm.
shame.
Well, we work with what part of the story is mine. So the boundary piece, like you're talking about. Where do I need to take responsibility? Where does he need to take responsibility? How do I clean up what's mine? Because I must tell you, Denise, I was pretty crazy and did some really relationship damaging things in the process. But we really work with, because that's kind of what I think the hero syndrome leaves us with, is we don't have boundaries. We're taking care
No
of
boundaries.
everybody and everything.
Yep. No boundaries. No boundaries. I look back at how I survived. I just clicked right back. After the funeral, I don't even know what day the funeral was on because I've got blanks in my mind because I just blocked it out. I was so busy looking after everybody else around me. I had grandkids that had lost their granddad. I had my children had lost their father, and after all, they're more important than me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And until I fell apart,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we have to take care of ourselves first. And that's completely opposite to what we've been taught. We've been taught as women, you don't matter. As I said earlier, you don't matter. It's okay. You're going to be fine. As long as everybody else is okay, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And others don't recognize that you're not okay. Don't expect them to say to you, hey, are you okay? They're not, because they're just taking, because they're so used to you giving and giving and giving.
Yes. Yes. And in this circumstance, you may have one child or one friend that recognizes that you need something, but it's few and far between. So as they begin to feel, talk us through flow. You go through feeling and then
it's the letting go. Now, we're not letting go of them. We're not letting go of the memories, the good times.
Mhm.
We're not letting go of the stories of our life together, because that's part
Mhm.
of what made you today, to who you are
Right.
today, is the life that you shared, right?
Right.
But it's the letting go of those emotions, the betrayal, the heartache, the anger, the frustration, it's letting go of those emotions. Now, it sounds so easy. Yeah, I'll just let them go. Yeah, no, it's not that easy.
No. No, it isn't. It isn't. We're back to your onion. It's layers and layers of feelings, and
Yep.
it can sneak up on you. Did you have grief sneak up on you when you didn't expect it?
Totally, totally, totally. I would be doing my shopping and suddenly a song would come on and I would just burst into tears. Pushing my
Mhm.
cart, I've got tears running on you. This is ridiculous, Denise. Where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Right.
Because it's emotions that I haven't felt. I have suppressed them, and suddenly our body goes and our mind says, "Hang on, there's something there. Wait, there's more. You haven't dealt with this yet. Now it's your
Mhm.
time to deal with it." And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you're with. It just comes up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's when we start apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cry. No, feel him. Whoever you're with or whoever you are, just say, oh, this emotion's just come up for me. Acknowledge it. That's part of the feeling.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because now you know, okay, I can let that go. I can release that. Okay, breathe. What is it? Okay. And then you can work through it yourself.
So what happens if you don't acknowledge it and you stuff it or you push it down? What begins to happen in your body?
Oh, wow. I have had so many ladies that have come to me and said, I don't know, I don't understand why I'm feeling so sick. I'm
Mm.
tired. I'm emotional. I just, and I know it's grief. Now everybody's telling them it's your grief. It's your grief. Wait for time and it'll get better. Or,
Mm.
what stage are you in? Maybe you need to go back to that, to the previous stage. Maybe you have, so they're getting all this bombardment of incorrect information where it is just them suppressing their emotions, their feelings,
Mm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
not acknowledging, I am going through hell right now. I felt that. Where did it come from? And then feeling
What
it.
what do they do? This is more my modus operandi with the anger outbursts in inappropriate places. How do you handle that?
that is, you can, obviously, you're not going to run and scream and do anything, but as soon as you get into your car or you're in your own space, let it out. Let it out. If you're in a social situation, go to the toilet, excuse yourself, go to the restroom, excuse yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just cry. Just cry, because crying, so many people say to Denise, I can't cry. I've never been a crier. I can't cry. And that's their story. That's their story, because they've suppressed emotions all throughout their life. They don't know what
Mm-hmm.
it's like to actually feel.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, when they
Mm-hmm.
start feeling and we start doing the work together, the floodgates just open. They just open. They cry and cry and cry, because our tears is the body's natural way of releasing anger, releasing emotion, releasing that energy. We've got to release that energy.
So when you're not taking people through stages, that doesn't fit with your methodology. Is there a point where women feel like they're past the grief, or is it something that you live with? What does that look like as folks work with you and feel
So,
healthier? Let's put it that way.
yeah, absolutely. So, once you start letting go, so now you felt it. So, you now know, and this can all happen in one session. This is not necessarily over weeks and months and years.
Oh, thank
So,
goodness. That's helpful. Could we just do it all at once and be done?
yeah,
Nice.
I have most of my ladies within the first week of us working together. After the first week, they they've released a lot of stuff that they've been hanging on to, maybe for
Mm-hmm.
years and years and years. Why? Because they're letting it go. Now comes the next stage of the overcoming. Now, what is the O? It's overcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, who am I? What do I want for me? It's
What do I
rediscovering
like
yourself.
or what do I dislike? So I mean, there was
Yes,
a point where I couldn't tell you if I liked fish or chicken. I didn't know. I was so concerned
yeah,
with what was happening over there. I didn't know what I liked.
that's right. After my husband died, he was a very plain eater. He was a steak and veggie man. That was it. Never, never, not, he wasn't, he wouldn't eat shrimp or anything like that, because it was like, oh, no, I don't eat that. Just give me a good steak. Just give me a good steak.
Yeah.
So after he died, I found myself, I don't particularly, I mean, I'll eat steak, but I'm not a great big steak eater. I was buying steak for myself. I was buying steak for myself.
You're still pushing the cart, putting steak in your cart. Yeah.
Yeah, steak and eggs. That's what he loved. And I'm going, why have you got steak and eggs in there? You don't like it.
So Denise, what do you eat now? What do you enjoy?
I enjoy a lot of vegetables and a lot of curries and all sorts of things. A whole variety of. I even eat shrimp. I never had shrimp. I hadn't tried it until he died. And then I went, no, I'm going to try this and see what it's like. So that's what we do. We lose ourselves. We lose ourselves in our relationship.
Right. Right. Right.
So, even with ambiguous grief, we've lost ourselves, but we're so busy trying to help them that we don't realize how much more of ourselves we're losing. And it's not selfish. It is absolutely not selfish to love yourself.
Hmm. Hmm. Because you can overflow and fill them from the overflow
Yeah,
rather than from the emptiness.
that's
Right?
right.
I'm
Absolutely.
getting it.
Absolutely. 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 So the key is to always keep your cup full. You're still loving them. You're still helping them. You're still there for them. And even if you decide to walk away because it all gets too much for you,
Hmm.
it's okay. Walk away because that's what you need for you.
And typically you'll come back a nicer person.
Yes, you're different. You're a completely different person
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're doing the inner work on yourself. You're rediscovering who you are. Who am I? What do I want for me?
How do you make it safe for your women to do the inner work? How do you, as their coach, provide the safety net for them to do that?
Well, they've got the program, the 8-week program, and they've got me. So we have, they go as they're going through the program and through the worksheets, because the worksheets are designed for them to start unpeeling those onions, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they've finished the first week, say, for example, or the first module, because sometimes it can take longer than a week because they're processing. They're processing.
Mm-hmm.
I work with them one-on-one. And we unpack what's come up for you. Where are you at? Let's celebrate your wins. I also make myself so available that if anything comes up and they are stuck, they just have to Voxer me. They just have to send me a message. And if I'm available, I will hop on a call with them.
Great.
Just to walk through that emergency, whatever it is. Because this is not just your normal life coaching situation. This is almost triage. It's helping you process.
Mm-hmm.
I had a beautiful client that worked with me, and her husband was killed on a motorcycle just 5 kilometers, 5 miles from home.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going through the program, and stuff was coming up. And I got this in the middle of the night, because remember, I'm in Australia. So in the middle of the night, my phone started flashing, and I looked, and it was this lady. And immediately I picked up the phone and I said, "What are you struggling with? I'm here." She said to me, "It's your middle of your night. I just wanted to message you." I said, "No, let's talk now. Let's talk it through now."
Yeah.
And it was a 10 minutes just getting the head straight. That's all it takes. It's not a long coaching session. It's just saying, you're okay. This is what, do this, do that. Have you tried this? Where are we at? And it's like, oh, okay. But what it also does is it gives my clients the reassurance, Denise is there.
Yes.
I'm not in this journey on my own.
Isn't that the hardest part, that you feel like you're alone? Nobody's ever done this before?
Yeah. And that's why, and it frustrates me so much, that's why everybody joins Facebook groups.
I have thoughts about Facebook groups. I run one, but I have thoughts about them too.
I run one too, but mine's very different. In a situation where there's trauma, where there's, you're going through stuff, everybody wants to share their sad story. So then their friend says to them, or their family member says to them, "You need to be with other people that feel the same." Go into a Facebook group, and then you'll see you're not alone. So because they go into a Facebook group and they see thousands of people in the same situation as them, and then they start posting, like, "Oh, I'm feeling so sad today. I miss them so much. I don't know what to do." And then hundreds of people will, "Oh, me too. I know how you feel." And everybody feeds. It's like a feeding frenzy. Everybody feeds on that negativity.
Or the sadness or the loneliness, and it just begins to go down rather than going up, which is scary.
And my group is very different. I do not allow sharing of sad stories. You can tell me your story, you can share your story, but whoever comments, they know the rules, that it's an uplifting. Carry them, lift them up.
So sharing of burdens, in the sense of this will get better. There are skills you can use. I have some things that have really worked for me. Can I share that with you? Type idea.
Yeah. Watch Denise's videos, because I do a lot of videos and a lot of lives in the group on how to move forward, what to do. I post regularly, don't wait for time, encouraging posts. And a lot of people say, just watch Denise's videos, read her posts, book a call with her, because I cannot be in a group that is just doom and gloom, because it's moving forward. We've got to move forward in our life. And how do we do that? We have to really reimagine a new life, because the old life is
Yeah.
dead. It's gone. The old life is
Right.
gone.
So even though you had plans with Martin, you were hitting that stage to where the kids were gone, work was winding down, all of that stuff. You've had to reimagine your own life. What have you reimagined your own life as?
Oh, wow. And then again, there again, it's the onion again, isn't it? I mean, it's, I never ever saw me doing what I'm doing now, ever. It was not
Mm-hmm.
something that I was ever, if Martin was still alive, I wouldn't be doing this, because my life would be totally different. I would be
And you'd be
totally
eating
different.
steak and veg.
I'd be eating steak and veg, yeah, with an egg or two thrown in there.
That's right. So what have you're no longer doing the accounting. Here you are doing this. What else have you reimagined for your life? Because you seem very happy that things are, not stuck in the, oh, well, if he was here, we would be better.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. It's been 15 years for me, and a lot of people say to me, Denise, have you got remarried? Have you got a man in your life? And I go, no. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want a man in my life, or I hate men, or anything like that, or it's because I found me, and
Yeah.
I love me, because me can do what she wants. Being in Australia, I work very odd hours. I can be up at
Mhm.
3 o'clock in the morning with a client, and then I can work right through to 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Now I've done a whole day already. By 9 o'clock, everybody's getting up, going to work, and I'm going, wow, I've already done a day.
I need a nap at this point. I'm done.
And I will. I'll go back to bed, and I'll go and have a nap. And I might, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, say, well, I need a wine now. Just have a glass of wine. And I'll be in bed just relaxing. And I
Mhm.
know that if Martin was still alive, he'd say, what the hell are you doing in bed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a wine?
And there'd be dinners to make and, other people to consider. So you've found you. So talk us through how you help other women find themselves and where they can find you to work with you, to be in your uplifting group. Where are you? Well, we know you're in Australia, but where are you on the internet?
Where am I in our virtual world?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I've got my Facebook group, and my website. My website is theflowgriefacademy.com.
Mhm, mhm,
I've got all the links in there. I've also I've also started the Flow Grief Academy, and that's why I've sort of rebranded I used to be Living Beyond Grief and Loss, and I've
mhm.
rebranded it now to the Flow Grief Academy, so that it encompasses everything. Is because I want to help others to help others. So
Oh,
I've
okay.
started the Academy of Transformational Grief Coaching, where you certify as a Flow Transformational Grief Coach.
Mhm, mhm.
But
Awesome, awesome.
you
So for women who are grieving, but also for coaches who are interested in adding grief to their toolkit of how to transform and help people transform that.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the world is grieving. The world is grieving. We do not realize how much the world is grieving. Everybody is grieving.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
since over the last 4 years, we know what's happened worldwide. We've lost loved ones. We've lost a way of life. We've lost businesses. There's so much loss.
Mhm.
And that's grief. That's
Yeah.
grief.
And we don't in a Western culture don't have a lot of processes for things other than a death style grief. The
That's
funeral
right.
comes with that, people come around, all those types of things, but the ambiguous grief, nobody brings me a cake when my husband goes to rehab, right? There's no
No,
casseroles when, the police come and things happen, right? It doesn't
no.
happen that way.
Instead, there's judgment. It's
Yes, lots
replaced
of
by judgment. Oh my God, did you see? Oh, her husband was taken away.
Mhm,
And there comes the shame
mhm.
and the
Absolutely.
guilt,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or her husband's an alcoholic. I wonder
Mhm.
I wonder what caused him to become an alcoholic. It's all it and in that is the shame, the guilt. If only I could have, maybe I should have. Am I a good enough wife? Am I a good enough partner? What did I do
Right, right.
to
And then we're
cause
coming back to your whole feel the feelings, let go, overcome. We're stepping back into the flow.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Denise, it's amazing. You're doing such excellent work. So they can find you at the Flow Grief Academy, and the name of
Yeah.
the Facebook group, is that the same?
Yes, yes. It's
Awesome.
rising. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all the links are on my page. So at the bottom, if they go to the bottom of my page, they just have to click on Facebook, and it'll all be there. Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Denise, thanks for sharing so much of yourself with us. And I'm sure people will find this just to be a fabulous resource. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share and bringing the awareness around grief. And you don't have to grieve alone. Do not grieve alone.
No, not at all.
You, beloved listener, are creative, resourceful, and whole. Do you want to add more purpose to your sober journey? Do you want to make room for the new and make your dreams a reality? Apply today for a dream session. Go to tanyajoya.com. That's TANYAGIOIA.com and apply today. Let's get you dreaming about your new purpose.